Welcome back to my walkthrough of Final Fantasy VI. jrpg here, wishing you a happy Friday. In the last episode, we met Gao on the Veldt, and after somehow cramming all three of us into a single self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, we're only a quick boat ride away from Narshe, so let's get going and meet up with the rest of our friends. Now, I'd like to mention really quick that off-camera I got us down to a more normal amount of potions and tonics, because we were sitting on about 40 of each due to my terrible luck grinding in the Veldt, so we can go right ahead and pretend that never happened. South Figaro bound ferry. Still need to shop? Nope, let's hop aboard. Cyan says Narshe's just a stone's throw away. Sabin says, I hope the others arrive safely. And Cyan replies, I'm sure they did. And Gao says, me hope so too. The three have reached Narshe, and a decisive battle is about to take place. The Elder says, I understand all of it, except how can we be encouraging bloodshed? And Arvis says, I never said that. And the Elder replies, something like it. And Bandit says, ha! He's right, you know. Arvis says, Bannon! And Bandit says, our blood will spill because of you. Bandit says, Emperor Gestal's racing to acquire Magitech power. He set his sights on the Esper that was found here. The increased use of Magitech power will surely lead to global destruction. The Elder says the War of the Magi. The mythical battle that set mankind back 1,000 years. Can this really be happening? And it certainly seems like it. People will never learn. Sabin cries out, Brother! Edgar says, Sabin, you're all right. Who's with you? And this is something that I tend to forget about because, you know, I'm the player, but it's easy to forget that the characters haven't actually met each other, and I think they do a really good job of making sure that when people don't know each other, they're introduced and have conversations. Anyway. Cyan says, I'm Cyan, retainer to the Lord of Doma. And Gao says, Gao, Gao. Sabin says the people of Doma were wiped out by the Empire. Cyan says Kefka poisoned everyone. And the Elder says barbaric. Bannon says Elder. The Elder says, but that was only because Doma was collaborating with the Returners. If we make that mistake... But Locke says that's nonsense. Terra says Locke, and Locke says the Empire's poised to attack Narshe right now. And Edgar says, what? Bannon says, Locke, where'd you hear that? And Locke says Celeste here was one of the Empire's generals. And Cyan says, I knew she seemed familiar. Sir Gao, out of my way. And this is what I was talking about, is these characters meeting each other. Cyan says, this is General Celeste. She torched Miranda. She's an Imperial spy. Now stand aside. And Locke says, wait, Celeste has joined the Returners. She's fighting with us now. Cyan says, but, and Locke says, I promised I'd protect her. I will not back out on my word. Edgar says, Locke, are you still thinking about that? And that's a clue that Locke has a reason for acting the way he does. Terra says, I was also an Imperial soldier. And Cyan says, what? Edgar says the Empire's evil, but not all of its citizens are. Sabin says, oh, this is... Emergency! The Empire cometh! Yep, there's no time for infighting. We have bigger problems on our hands. Kefka, crossing the Figaro Desert towards Narshe, says, I don't care what you do here, just get me that Esper. The soldier says, Lord Kefka, there are civilians here. And Kefka says, exterminate everyone. The soldier says, but Narshe is neutral. Kefka says, idiot! Read my lips. Dispose of any who oppose us. March! And God, you just love to hate him. The Elder says we really have no choice. Let's make ready for war. Bannon says they're after the Esper, and the Elder says we moved it into the hills. Edgar says that we're going up after it. And once again, we get some fun interactions here. Edgar says, Locke has a complicated past. I wouldn't go thinking he's fallen for you or something. Celeste says, I'm a soldier, not some love-starved twit. And Edgar replies, cold as ice. And Celeste says, so you were born with the power of magic? Isn't it a lovely gift? And I do sense some sarcasm there. Terra says, you can use magic too? Celeste says, when I was a baby, I was artificially infused with magic and raised as a Magitech knight. Terra says, have you loved anyone? And Celeste says, what's that supposed to mean? Science says, don't think for a moment I trust you. And Celeste replies, fine, use your own eyes, then decide. All right, so here we are defending the Esper. It's all of the returners lined up, and the Empire is coming. Now let's go ahead and kick it off right away. Bannon asks, are we prepared? And let's tell him yes. And now Mog's going to come out and explain to us how this works, but we kind of already know we did this with the Mughals defending Terra, but he says, save the Esper from Kefka. Need some info, and let's tell him yes. You'll fight in 3 groups, use the Y button to switch between them. Defeat Kefka before his men reach Bannon. Otherwise, you lose. And we don't want to lose. And speaking of not losing, we're going to play this a little bit differently than we played the Mughal fight. I've been thinking a lot about show, don't tell, and I mentioned that you can play these aggressively, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to start by making a party of 4. That's going to be our aggressive party, and everyone in the party is going to serve a specific purpose. So we're going to take Locke because we want to steal some things in this scenario. We're going to take Celeste because her runic ability does end up being very nice to have. Edgar for AoE destruction, and same with Gao. The rest of the groups don't matter, so we'll just go ahead and throw Cyan and Sabin and Terra in some random groups. Let's not leave Terra alone. We can put her with Sabin so she's got a bodyguard. And let's get started. Bannon says they're coming! And the music kicks up a notch. Let's go! Kefka says, oh, it's General Celeste, the traitor. How delightful! This'll be fun! And he does his signature laugh and brings a disconcerting number of soldiers with him. Now let's talk a little bit about how this section is going to work. I'm sure you can count, but there are 12 soldiers standing there, however only 11 will be approaching us. The brown soldier in the back is going to be one of the bosses of this area, and the other 11 respawn once each time you defeat them. So, between them and the bosses, you can end up in a total of 24 fights here, but we don't want to do that because we'd like to avoid grinding, but I'll explain why a little bit later. For now, let's just suffice to say we're going to play this to win it. So Kefka says, go! Get those vile insects! And we're going to go right ahead and make sure we're equipped. Let's throw Locke in the back row and make sure everyone's wearing a green beret. Except for Celeste, who we want to be wearing a Magus hat and the Silk Robe to bump her magic power all the way up to 42, although we're not even really going to be casting spells with her. But it is the optimal gear configuration, I think, so that's what we're going to do. Make sure Gao is equipped, and let's go ahead and take a look at our relics. We can give Locke the Mithril Glove, I suppose. We don't need to be wearing sprint shoes right now. Edgar's relics are already crazy, same with Celeste, and let's go ahead and give Gao the Sniper Sight. He will be using Fight 50% of the time, so let's make sure it always hits. Alright, let's get going. The first soldier we're going to encounter is going to be one of the green soldiers. Now, 3/4 of the time, this is going to end up being 4 troopers, like so, and 1/4 of the time, it's going to be a bounty man and 2 troopers. But either way, we're going to use auto crossbow. And let's just skip Celeste's turn. Let's go ahead and be a Templar. And hopefully Gal will just cast Fire too and take all these out. But since Locke is with us, let's mention the steel chances. So on troopers, they have a tonic for a common steel and a mithril blade for a rare steel. In the other encounter, the bounty man would have potions, but we are probably not going to see one. But we'll see. One more green soldier in front of us. Let's get it. Oh, we do see the bounty man. Okay. And just like some of the other dogs we've met, if you leave them alone, if you leave the bounty man alone and just kill the 2 soldiers, he's going to run away. But I sincerely doubt they won't just all be dead to auto crossbow. Everything always is. Alright, let's go ahead and heal Locke up a little bit because we're going to end up in a couple of fights in a row here. Okay, I think we're good to go. Now, the brown soldiers, the common encounter is this, Fidor and Trooper. Now, the Fidor has a potion for a common steel and a Phoenix Down as a rare, and the Fidors are a little bit different from the Bounty Man in that if you leave the Fidor alone, it will start using Pounce, which is a double damage attack, so you'd like to try to kill them both at the same time if you possibly can. Like that. Okay, so we're already in the fight with the Rider, and I want to steal something from him, so let's have everyone defend until this steal lands. And of course I can't steal. Let's go ahead and throw a cure on Locke. Now, Ryder has 1300 HP, and he is weak to fire and poison, and he has a mithril vest. That's exactly what I wanted. Now, let's give him the business. Actually going to throw another cure on Locke. He hit him pretty hard. Wow. But we're going to go ahead and take advantage of his weaknesses by using the Bioblaster and the Templar Rage. Hopefully we get a Fire 2 down. That reverse polarity moved Locke to the front row, but that's actually fine, because I'm just going to be fighting with him from now on. And down goes the Rider. That wasn't too tough at all. And Locke gains a level right on time, and we get a remedy for our trouble. But here's that third battle. For some reason, we ended up in the boss battle first. Let's do an Overmind, why not? And yeah, kill that fighter before he starts using Pounce. Okay. Now all that's left to do is fight with Kefka. Let's make sure we're healed up. This fight is kinda no joke, although we're gonna be able to cheese it a little bit just because I got so unlucky in the Veld. We have every rage that we could possibly want. And once again, we do want to steal something here, but let's go ahead and Runic with Celeste. We're going to go ahead and use the Primordite Rage because Kefka, although he doesn't have any particular weaknesses, Stop can actually work on him, which is what Numbblade does. So now we have Kefka totally stopped. There's our steal. Now let's go ahead and lay into him. Unfortunately for us, that means Gao is just going to be doing Numbblade 50% of the time, which, while Kefka is stopped, is going to miss, but it's going to end up being fine because Kefka's not really going to get to take any actions, although we have Celeste with us because he casts a lot of spells. He's got Poison, Bolt, Ice, Ice 2, Muddle, and Drain, all of which are pretty good. Some are better than others. Ice 2, as you might imagine, is the most powerful one. But Runic can stop all of that, and furthermore, just having him stop the entire fight can stop all of that. And the reason I'm doing this, I don't like cheesing these fights, but I do want to demonstrate that there is a rage for every situation. And if you really know what you're doing, they're fairly unbelievable like this, where the boss of the area can't even take an action. Like, that's just how good rage can be. If you put the work in. And Kefka says, don't think you've won, I'll be back. And he runs away like the coward he is. And we get a peace ring for our trouble, which will prevent Berserk and Muddle, but it's not amazing, but it's free. And who doesn't love free relics? But Kefka says, I won't forget this. And just like that, the fight is over. Edgar says, where's the Esper? And Locke says, is it okay? And we're back here where the game started. And one thing that I want to point out really quick, I didn't have any time in the intro, but something that the Pixel Remaster pointed out to me that I never really noticed before is that in the background, along the bottom of the mountain range, you can actually see the town of Narshe, which I literally never noticed before the Pixel Remaster came out. And I've played this game many, many times. Anyway, Edgar says that was a close call. Cyan says, can it still be alive? And Sabin says, impossible, right? But I'll tell you this, anything's possible. But Terra steps back and Locke says, Terra, what is it? And some energy nearly flings Locke right off the cliff. But Terra says, no! And nearly flings everyone off the cliffs. Sabin says, Terra and the Esper. And Edgar says there's some kind of reaction. Terra says, what? What am I feeling? Huh? What's going on? Please, tell me. Who am I? Who? Locke calls out, Terra! Celeste says, an Esper. I can actually feel its mind. Edgar says, Terra, step away from the Esper. And away she flies. And that primal scream she lets out is just so terrifying. And Terra has transformed into something and is flying through the air. It is not completely clear that bringing her back to the Esper was a good idea. Locke says, and Celeste says, you're awake? Locke says, where's Terra? And Celeste says she changed into a something and took off. She looked like... She looked like an Esper. Edgar says, Locke, you okay? Edgar says, something happened to Terra. There seems to be some connection between Esper's and her. Anyway, we need to find her. Witnesses saw her screaming across the sky to the west. Locke says, let's go. I promised her I'd... And everyone gathers around. Celeste says, Locke. Edgar says, think, people. The Empire still wants that Esper. Sabin says, Bannon needs our help too. Cyan says, a former Imperial soldier. But we've no choice. We must help her. Edgar says, let's split up. Those who aren't searching for Terra will stay and guard Narshe. Figaro Castle can shuttle us to the Western Province. Then we'll make for Kolingen or Jidur. And so now we've got to pick a party to go look for Terra. And of course, once again, we're going to bring Locke because he should absolutely be searching for Terra. He promised he'd protect her. We're going to bring Celeste because Celeste should always be with Locke. And then I'm going to take Edgar and Sabin because I think the brothers should stick together. And Cyan and Gao get along pretty nicely, so we'll leave them behind to hang out with each other. All right, let's get a move on. And now we finally have free access to Narshe, but let's talk to everyone in here first. Cyan says we have to help her, but we're not going to change group members. We just want his dialogue, and Gao says Gao do his best. He sure does. All right, let's get some sprint shoes on. And we can probably put those on over, like, True Knight. Sure, why not? And I'm pretty sure everybody's equipped up. Yeah, we're fine. All right. Bannon says, go find Terra. She holds the future to our survival. And we probably hold the future to her survival, too. Arvis says, her Terra turned into light and streaked away toward the west. Make your way to Figaro Castle. Maybe they can help you there. All right, there's a couple of things we want to do in town. First, though, let's head to the armor shop. They're going to have something pretty nice for sale, and that is going to be the Mithril Shield. Let's go ahead and buy 4 of them. It's an upgrade for everybody. Oh, and I forgot to put the Mithril Vest on. I think I want... Yeah, let's just have Edgar wear it, I guess. I think that's fine. It doesn't really matter who, it's just very good. But I want Celeste to be wearing these things. Yeah, Optimum kind of betrayed me there, but that's okay. All right, that looks good. Now let's go exploring Narshe. We've been here a bunch of times, but we've never actually gotten to explore it. So this guy says, Narshe is a neutral city. We want no war here. But that blank empire won't listen. And what about this guy? Magic? Pshaw, what nonsense. I mean, there's literally an Esper in the hills, buddy. And this guy says, so magic really does exist. And I feel like these 2 old men just walk around arguing with each other all day, which is just great. And I may end up accidentally talking to people more than once. There's a lot of people moving around, so you'll have to just forgive me for that. This guy here says the house to the far right contains treasures I've collected. Take them before the Empire does. Only one of them is locked. Now, what do you suppose is inside? And that's a little bit of a teaser, but we're not going to get to find that out right now. And this guy says, geothermal devices keep this town warm. And yep, that's the steampunk feel I was talking about. I love Narshe. It's so cool. Let's go get those treasures, though. I can't hear about treasures, particularly if Locke is leading the party, and not immediately go get them. So this guy says, only the chest in the back is locked. Can it be opened? And the answer is yes, but not right now. So we find 5,000 gil, some earrings, which is really sweet, the thief knife, a wall ring, sneak ring, and a hyper wrist. And this one is locked, of course. We can't do anything with that, but we did just get some new exciting relics, so let's go ahead and put them on. I'm going to go ahead and throw on the sneak ring on Locke. It says raises the success rate of steal, but it actually doubles it and grants 5 speed, which is real sweet. but it doesn't affect rare steal success. So we're definitely going to use that, and these treasures should tell you that you should definitely have luck with you. And then we're going to go ahead and throw on the Thief Knife, and look at the stat boost on this thing. It grants plus 10 magic block, plus 3 speed, and when you hit, randomly steals, which is just fantastic. In case you use the fight command with luck, you don't miss out on a steal. That's just great. Now, I want to double up on earrings. I'm going to leave the ribbon on Celeste, but we can go ahead and throw the extra set of earrings on Sabin to make Orbolt even more ridiculous than it already is. And I don't really need to use the wall ring, but we can talk about it for just a sec. It does what you think it does. It casts Reflect permanently. Okay, I think we're good for now. Let's finish talking to everyone in town. I've already talked to these guys, but what about you? He says we follow our elders' advice. They sure do. This guy says a glowing form soared off toward Figaro Castle. It seemed almost human. Yeah, almost human is not necessarily something you want to be called if you're actually human, but it turns out that Terra may not actually be human. Figaro Castle can burrow under the desert and take you to Kolingen. Interesting. We will definitely be doing that. This guy says, curse the day we dug up that Esper. That's what brought the Empire here. And you know, that is true. This guy says, Moogles live deep within the mines. We already know that, though, but thank you. This guy says, I saw some Moogles walking with a Sasquatch. Now that is interesting. We did not know that. Now let's pop in the weapon shop. There are a couple of interesting things here. There is the flail, which the girls can use, and it is pretty strong. It'll make your fight damage a lot better, and it does full damage from the back row. However, we want Celeste using a sword so that she can use her runic ability, so we're not going to buy this. And sort of a similar thing with the full moon. It is very strong, deals full damage from the back row, but the Thief Knife is much, much better. The only thing we're going to buy is a Mithril Pike for Edgar, even though we're pretty much never going to use it. But it will make his fight command a little bit more respectable, so why not? It'll bump it up to 90 and bring it more in line with the rest of the people we have with us. And we'll deal with selling some stuff later. For now, I'd just like to mention there is a free inn in the back room here, but you shouldn't really be staying at the inn because you remember from the beginning of the game, there's also a recovery spring in the trading room in front of town. There's nothing new for sale in the relic shop, but let's check it out anyway. Some things for sale here that if you hadn't gotten them before now, you could buy them, but we're not going to buy any of these. None of them are particularly amazing, so let's just move on. There's one last place I want to go, and that's the Elder's house right up here. The Elder says, I'm troubled. I want to avoid fighting, but the fight's been brought to you. Let's grab this elixir in his clock, and I think we're pretty much ready to go, because we want to track down our friend Terra and make sure she's all right. However, that is going to have to wait until next time because I'm all out of time for today. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next Final Fantasy Friday.